Alright, so I call this story Once Upon a Time in New Jersey. It happens, starts all the way back when I was in 3rd grade. Just give you a little setting. I decided to grow my hair out. I can't tell you why, even to this day, but I did it. But it's like committing seppuku to my social life. But it put me in a right. Put me with the people who I knew actually liked me because they liked to hang out with me. It separated me from all the trashy popular kids, and I was able to get into things that I like even to this day, like video games and comic books and Star Wars. So basically, when I was in 3rd grade, it was me and this other friend I had. His name was James Wright. Now, just to give you we were both super rail thin kids. James Wright, we were both bullied a lot, and James Wright, he looked like this, like a little ginger Harry Potter, but Harry Potter hadn't been invented yet, so all the bullies at school were like, I know what to fucking call you, but yeah, it hasn't been invented yet. So we would hang out a lot, and he was a Boy Scout at the time. And we both really liked James Bond, because what, 3rd grader boy doesn't want to go on a James Bond adventure exactly like he's been dreaming about every day for 2 years straight. So one day, we got I say we got, we just inherited these people who came to my school. But there is these pair of twins that moved all the way back down from Canada to New Jersey. I don't know why you'd go from Canada to New Jersey, but sure. So they moved down to New Jersey, and they were also Boy Scouts. I don't know. They were Boy Scouts of America before they even got to America, which is beyond me. But their names were Ashton and Preston, which to this day is the best set of names that you can give to a pair of identical twins. Absolutely great. And but they were James knew them from Boy Scouts, and I remember I was sitting at the lunch table in 3rd grade, and he offered to introduce me to them. He was like, "Oh yeah, Preston really likes James Bond too. He's seen all the movies and stuff. I'll bring him over." It's like, "Oh yeah, cool." So, me and Preston both never really met each other, and he's from a different, completely different area that I've ever been to, and he doesn't know me and I don't know him, so I think we both had the same mentality where it's we can come off as cool to each other. So James comes over, and then, I'm just, stonewall. I'm just, kind of sitting at the lunch table. Just, on my, cardboard, pizza, around the corner. It's all the cheese is already congealed. It's I'm not even going to eat it any further anyway. And here comes Preston. He comes down and sits down. Sits right in front of me. He's like, "So, I hear you like James Bond?" I'm like, "Yeah, I dabble." "Who's your favorite James Bond?" "Timothy Dalton, License to Kill." "Roger Moore for me, but I can understand." I forget what his favorite movie was, because it was a Roger Moore movie, so it was probably James Bond and the Adventure of Wrinkleface. But he's like, "All right, let's get down to brass tacks. I'm making a James Bond movie." "James Bond movie? That sounds fun." He's like, "Yeah. If you like acting, I'm thinking me and you can switch up playing who plays Bond." So he's like, "You can't have a Bond movie without a Bond car. You got a Bond car?" He's like, Power wheels. I got one." So from that day forward, me, Preston, and Asher were all best friends. We never ever started even making that movie, which I kind of wish we did. But we were really great friends. We he had PlayStation, I had N64. He was more outdoorsy, and he actually introduced me to sports. He's like, "Hey, you want to play sports?" I'm like, "Sports? What are those? I never." So we got along really well. He only lived down the street. We hung out all the time, and we'd always go over his house and play James Bond, Agent Under Fire, because he got PlayStation 2, and I came over "Wow, look at the graphics, it's so crazy." And so then, Star Wars Episode 1 came out. And, you know, we were both already into Star Wars. But this, like, completely revolutionized the way that, like, you know, two, like, middle school kids, like, look at Star Wars at, like, special effects, and Jar Jar Binks, who, like, to a middle schooler was fucking awesome. Like, he didn't give a fuck. And then it was great. And, like, you know, the best part is they came out with those lightsabers. They like, those... Just fucking, they're just awesome. They had, like, little flashlights inside that always broke, like, the second day you got them. And, you know, it was fucking awesome. And then, like, we started reading the books. And then, like, my brother was also, like, a kind of a nerd. And, like, in his own respect, he had, like, the Rogue Squadron books. So I wrote on the coattails of his nerddom and, like, read them as well. So we all got familiar with, like, the lore of it all. And, then we started switching from James Bond to now we're playing Battlefront 1, and we're playing Jedi Starfighter, and there's that PS1 game where you could play as Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan with lightsabers and like that. You didn't have an N64, and I was like, fuck, I wish the game over N64. And so eventually it went on, and we were like, you know what? Let's make a Jedi Council. With me and our friends. It was like me and Preston and Ashton, and we're just like fucking wore robes, and we played Star Wars video games. And so we just played all the video games and stuff, and then we were like, oh, but like who's like the fucking leader of the council? Like who's Yoda and shit? And it came down to it that Preston had a blue lightsaber, Ashton had a green lightsaber. And that put him a little bit above Preston. But, you know, some of the people on the council had blue lightsabers, some of them had green lightsabers, but there was only one motherfucker who had a purple lightsaber. Mace Windu. He was second to no bitch but Yoda. And let's be honest, none of us were fucking Yoda. So, like, I kind of weaseled my way into this, like, you know, position of power, like within this council. It got to the point where it's like whatever I say went because I was council leader. I'd be like, Ashton, go get me a popsicle and a plate, and he'd be like, yes, council member. So that went on and on. And then episode 2 came out, and it kind of like just like boosted this even further. And we in the middle of this, we kind of lost touch with James. And, like, we eventually got we got more friends who were also into Star Wars, and then they found out that, like, we had a Star Wars, like, club, or cult, as the dictionary calls it. And, so, before I knew it, we have, like, members. We have me, Preston, Ashton, Nikki B and Alfonso. These names have not been changed. Nikki B was like this like pathological liar, like fat kid, like who loved his Italian heritage and wanted nothing more to be like an enforcer for the mob. And like he'd be like on the phone, and he like had his dad's broken flip phone in the back of the bus, and he'd be trying to get attention to himself by like looking around and being like, "We can't whack a cop tonight. That's suicide." You know, we're like, oh shit, I guess Nikki B's gonna whack a cop tonight. So Nikki B was like a kind of a weasel of himself, kind of like weaseled himself into like a almost third place position of power. And we also had Laura, Emily, Matt. Emily had only one hand. That's not really important in the story, but it's a detail. And Matt was dyslexic. And so we had all these people. And now my power actually meant something. Like my fingers were everywhere. I had my spiders crawl throughout the school and bring back me information so I can, I don't know, fucking play more Star Wars games. So this got like, you know, I was like kind of enjoying it, you know. I was like leader of Star Wars Club, and then like Preston, Ashton, they're both like two of the best friends I ever had growing up, and Preston was like, they're both identical twins. Preston was like a little bit more intelligent. He was always like reading about religion and stuff in middle school, and Ashton was like a little goofier, was like a lot more like, you know, like out there, and so Preston Preston starts becoming savvy to the fact that, like, I have this, like, totalitarian, like, Caesarean rule over this, like, small subsection of middle schoolers. And it was all because my dad bought me a purple lightsaber. And so he's all like, oh, well, maybe we can, like, hold elections, and I'm like legit just like Caesar, like, that cannot happen. Dude, this is not a democracy. So, like, all right, dude, it sounds like a perfect plan. I'll tell you what, how about we, like, I'll make it like a test, and, it's a written test based on, like, the Star Wars, like, lore and stuff. Of course, I made the test, and it was impossible. It was impossible. It was like, what part of Obi-Wan's body did he scratch on page 62 of the Return of the Baby Sith God, or whatever? And it was, like, impossible. Like, people scored, like 20%, like, 14%, and I got, like, 96%. So I was like, oh, well, if you don't know about Star Wars, man, you can't be leader, man. This is more of a club. It's a family. So I'm like, I'm enjoying this for a while. We're like, doing everything. I was a little bit better at the video games and everything like that. And so eventually we get back in touch with James Wright, and James Wright wants to be in on Star Wars Club. Because, like, he's, like, really, really into Star Wars. And we're like, yeah, sure, why don't we just give him the test and see what happens. So Preston gives him the test, and he comes back to me, he's like, oh, dude, good news, man. James Wright scored an 80-something on the test. I'm like, what the fuck? Shit. This was not part of the plan. So, I'm like, all right, so, I guess the combat test is next. So, like, we schedule, like, on a Saturday. Me, Nikki, like, everybody, all the initiates are all at Preston's house. And, me and Preston are there, and, Nicky B was like, he was like the bigger guy, so I was like, you run the combat test. So I was like, meanwhile, me and Preston will be upstairs making death houses in The Sims. Okay, so you make a house, right? And you name it something awesome like Funtown. And like you make like an entire, you have like the solitary confinement room. You put two sofas together, line it up with easels, put a fireplace in the back. You had to have an adult there because only adults could light fireplaces in The Sims. I was like, if I was a big piece of shit in middle school, I was an even bigger piece of shit when I had like the actual powers of God like in my hands. Like my dad bought me like Quake when I was like 9 years old, and like Conker's Bad Fur Day I was like 10. But like The Sims was the only game he was ever like, if you're gonna play it like that, you cannot play The Sims. Like, did anyone? If you guys have ever played The Sims, everyone has this like everyone has the Swan family. And what I found out later is that everybody's Bella Swan was randomized. As far as appearance were concerned, like the entire Swan family was randomized. And our Mortimer Swan was like, he looked like the Penguin. He was like this big fat guy who was like, I make over $100,000 working with numbers every year. And like Bella was like this like bombshell. She had this red dress, and she was like Latina little bangs and shit. I was like, oh man, this bitch is dope. I was like, I gotta marry her. So like, but like, oh man, but girls like guys with jobs. So I went into the classifieds, and I got a job as a burglar. Which apparently is a 9-to-5 job that you like take a carpool to. Monday to Friday. And, it worked out perfectly. I went to school and went to bed every day, like suits. Like, I took a carpool Lamborghini to work. And then, I got our relationship level up to, like, 100, and we were, like, watching gibberish Looney Tunes in the living room. I'm like, Bella, will you marry me? And she's like, I can't, I'm married. And this is the first time I ever knew Mortimer existed. It's like, fuck, you married?
So like, I went into the Swan file, which you could, and I killed Mortimer. And then, like, 2 weeks later, we were married. It was awesome. She had a kid, but, like, the kid got, like, super depressed because I didn't pay any attention to her. She, like, never went to school or anything like that. So that's what me and Preston did upstairs. We're in the middle of doing, and and then all of a sudden, you know, in the middle of our Buchenwald experiment, we have like all I hear is just like John, this Nicky beat, and he is panting and sweating, and like he's kind of fat, so he does this like every day, but this time he's special. You can already tell. And he's like, John, you have to see this. I have never seen such power. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, alright. So I get my lightsaber and I'll clip my belt buckle. And I'll fucking go downstairs. And like, when I get downstairs, everybody's like got their lightsabers like completely just like unsheathed. They're backed up against the wall. And like, there's James in the middle. It's like a long hallway. And like James is standing with his lightsaber like like mad cool, right? And he's like, I wish to challenge. And he points his lightsaber at me. The Master. I'm like, alright man, you want to play lightsabers? I'll play lightsabers. He's like, no, not play. Challenge. So I'm like, oh shit, this guy's gonna beat the shit out of me. So, you know, I got my lightsaber on my belt. He's already unsheathed, and they form a circle, like one man enter, fucking only one man leaves. So he gets ready. He gets in like this form. It's like. So I'm like, saber throw, I take out my lightsaber, and I throw it at his face. And like, I had the Obi-Wan model lightsaber, so it's like, it kind of looked like picture this microphone, like, upside down, except, like, this is the bottom of it, except on the bottom it had these little nubs, like, at the end is, like, something you club somebody to death in prison with. And it just, like, nails him right in the mouth, and he's like, oh, God, and he, like, starts bleeding out his mouth. And, you know, everyone's like, yo, what the fuck? It's like, dude, you can't throw a lightsaber at somebody's face. I said, that is your first lesson as Padawan, is to always expect the unexpected. And he looks up at me and he's like, his bleeding mouth, he's like, that is why you are the master. So, Preston, you know, he's like, yo, this is bullshit. Because I'm pretty sure he fed him the answers to the test. They had some, like, conspiracy to overthrow me. And, like, it just fucking reversed. Because everyone had... From that point forward, my rule was absolute. The only way to fix this problem was to just splinter off and form another group. So, it was, like, a couple weeks later, and we're playing Jedi Starfighter. And, you know, we're playing and I'm doing really good. I'm, like, kicking ass. And then, I beat Preston, and then finally he gets, like, frustrated. It's me, Preston, Ashton, and Laura and Matt. And, he gets frustrated. And he throws the controller down. He's like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm on to you, man. So you think you can have complete control over here and make it impossible for anyone else to become leader? This is bullshit. This isn't a Sith Council. It's not a mockery of a Jedi Council. So, like, they all get up. Like, Laura, Matt, and Preston all get up in an obviously scripted maneuver. They Preston in the middle, Matt and Laura in the back, and it just clicked to me, like, they're all wearing black hoodies right now. And they get up, like, from this day forward, we are now. And they take their lightsabers out, all to reveal that their moms bought the red lightsabers. Sith! And then, like, Preston runs out and goes upstairs, and then, like, Laura, like, goes the wrong way and, like, starts to run back, and poor Matt goes the complete wrong direction, like, makes a lap around the pool table, and then runs upstairs, and then Ashton's like, no, my own brother! And I'm like, oh shit, dude, sorry, maybe they could be turned back or whatever. I read a book where it happened. So like, oh, we gotta go find him. So we're like, all right, let's go find him. So we went out there. It was like a 90-degree like summer day, and it turned out they were all hiding in the shed for like an hour. So by the time they got there, like covered in sweat, they're like, let's do it. And then we played lightsabers, and like it all kind of like fizzled out after that. And after that, I was like, yeah, this is way too much. I've dabbled too much in being a terrible, terrible person to these really nice and inviting people who have invited me into their lives. And so it all just kind of fizzled out after that. And you know, and after that, it was like it's a funny experience, and it's like, you know, I was a terrible fucking human being, but it's like I had a really, really great group of friends that, like, if you have like the right group of friends, especially in a time like a weird time like middle school, you can learn things about yourselves, and it's like you don't learn things about yourselves just by doing like the good stuff. So you learn things about yourself by, like, you know, forming a cult and getting to the point where it's like, I shouldn't do this. We just studied about Charles Manson. He didn't end up so well. So you learn things about yourself, and if you have the right group of people to do it with, you can learn more and more about yourself by doing these things that they help like cultivate in you. So that came to a close, and Star Wars Club kind of fizzled out, and you know, I kind of left after that. We were all great friends and stuff, and like Preston Ashton, they went on to become Eagle Scouts, and like moved back up to Canada, like fucking super soldiers in 2 different countries. And like Ashton got huge, joined a football team. So Preston, they joined a football team. They got like gigantic. And James actually still really, really into Star Wars. And he's, you know, he actually is like participates in something called the New Jersey Jedi, which is really cool. He like a whole bunch of like little nerdy little kids like we were, and you know, they get the toy lightsabers, and you know, he actually like knows Shi Cho. It's like it's a real thing. And like you know, it helps like kids like find friends with common interests like that. And he's the only one that actually took anything positive out of that experience and like made something of it. And like it was great, you know. So that all fizzled out, and you know, we had to prepare our bodies because in another couple of years, Lord of the Rings was coming out. All right, thank you guys very much.
Last left our intrepid host, she was feeling fairly certain that she just hadn't noticed that someone was obviously still in the drugstore and hadn't been left there.